Hi, folks. My name is Dr. Amy Pearlman. I'm a board certified urologist with expertise in sexual health. Dr. Justin?
And I'm a registered board certified emergency medicine physician with an expertise in medical health technology and remote patient management.
So you're an ER physician, and now you are CEO of a penile ring company. So can you give our viewers a little bit of insight on how this even began? How did you get into the field?
Really two ways. One, I've always been really interested in sex. And I'm probably the only emergency medicine physician or any physician I know whose mother took him off to urologist when he was a teenager because she was concerned that his masturbation would prevent him from getting to Harvard. Well, I got to Harvard anyway. And I did receive some very sound advice from one of the last urologists, which was only have to listen to your mother for one more year, then you'll be in college. I found a company called Swift MD. It's the second oldest telemedicine company in the United States after Teladoc. That got me very interested in remote patient management technology. I really wanted to empower people with the knowledge that physicians should have and would have that would deliver if they weren't motivated by secondary gain. And that's speaking candidly between you and I. Healthcare enforcement in the United States, and I know you agree with me because you're in concierge medicine, is driven by what people can bill for, and people don't get care largely that can't be billed for. So as part of that, I wanted to basically give people tools at home that they could use as diagnostic aids. Ideally, actually, often to treat themselves comprehensively. And there's certainly no reason why, for example, a woman can't treat herself for a yeast infection or urinary tract infection without going to and having to go see a doctor for a prescription. It's kind of ridiculous. So there's that component, which is telehealth, and the other is I'm an avid horse rider. I sometimes have the illusion that I'm a centaur. I live in Montana. In 2015, I broke 6 vertebrae. Fortunately, did not injure my spinal cord, but that got me interested in what's gone on to help men who've had spinal cord injuries for their rehabilitation, or for women, for that matter. And there were 5 or 6 papers in the medical literature, urology literature, peer-reviewed papers, saying that these doctors, and they were in the United States, Taiwan, and Egypt, had successfully restored erectile function with neuromodulation. And for people who don't know what neuromodulation is, the paradigm would be cardiac pacemaker. We put an electrode by a nerve, and we control the nerve, remotely. This led to my experimenting on 2 rams, and eventually on myself, with no outcome whatsoever. And then that's how you and I met Dr. Pearlman, because Dr. James O'Taling is a professor of urology at the University of Utah, heard about this experiment and was intrigued that he wanted to count the number of nocturnal erections that men have that are really indicated of cardiovascular health. And I never heard of that. Now, that kind of took me back because that would become like a 6th vital sign. Because in medicine, to say something's a leading indicator is really powerful. In medicine, we treat associations. High blood pressure is associated with heart attack and stroke. It's not predictive. Whereas a declining number of nocturnal erections is predictive of heart attack and stroke in time. But Dr. Hotaling, like most urologists I've met, frankly, like most doctors I've met, was what I call a cock ring virgin. I am not. I am married to a woman who's into sex toys, and I've always enjoyed sex toys myself too. And so my thought when Dr. Hotaling told me this is, well, let's come up with a way of counting, assessing, tracking with a wearable all erections, not just nocturnals, but the ones that are most important to men, which are the ones they have when they're trying to have sex or having sex. So that's the origin of this of FirmTech.
So your technology is essentially like a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or an Oura Ring for the penis. So I want you to talk a little bit about that device, and I'm holding it up here for everyone to see. This is the TechRing, right? It has a pressure sensor and a strain gauge. So can you tell the viewers like how this technology works to actually track erectile fitness?
Sure. Well, the key component of erectile fitness is blood flow. So as blood flows into the penis, men get an erection on the arterial side, and then the small muscles, venous muscles, on the other side of the circulation hold the blood in the penis. It's more complicated than that, but that's crudely what it is. It's about plumbing. It's about blood flow. Now, there are neurological controls, and there are other factors that enter into it. So basically, with this device, as the penis expands in girth, it presses against the strain gauge and the pressure sensor, and then a computer interprets the pull in the strain gauge and the pressure on the pressure sensor, and turns that using an algorithm and turns it into a waveform, just like an electrocardiogram. So part of the challenge with this device, though, was not just on the sensor side; it was on the safety side. So one of the problems with, and I prefer to call them erection rings, is for a long time, for like 150 years, they've made out of hard silicone. And men are warned not to wear them for more than 20, 30 minutes because they can compromise the circulation. In order for them to be fully effective, a man has to have an erection and then puts this device on. It's like a gasket, holds the blood in the penis, but you need ongoing circulation. So having it off more than 20, 30 minutes can be dangerous, especially in men who have diabetes or hypertension and might already have compromised circulation to this most sensitive part of their anatomy. So my thought was we need to make something that can be worn overnight. So it has to be a different material. It can't be silicone. So we make our device out of elastomer. Elastomers allow the arterial flow, and they just constrain the venous return. And the only disadvantage of an elastomer, well, two disadvantages of elastomer over silicone. Disadvantages are, one, it doesn't hold color as well. So for commercial purposes, you can't get these bright colors like you do with all the female sex products, all the dildos and vibrators, for women. The color is more muted. That's just commercial. The other disadvantage of elastomer is in time it will stretch and tear. So the rings, in our experience, with frequent use, last about 4 to 6 months. So we realized after being in operation for about a year that we need to provide people with a second sleeve in the box, so at least they can get 2/3 to a year's worth of time out of the device. And we sell additional sleeves online. So there was a material challenge. We tried working in China. First we tried working in the United States. Couldn't find anyone to make it. We tried working in China. They couldn't get the material right. And we now manufacture in Taiwan and the Philippines with a proprietary mix of elastomer. So we have papers, as you know, Amy, that demonstrate this device can be safely worn hour after hour, and both for purpose, both overnight and for sex.
Can you talk to us about some of the challenges related to looking at those tracings and understanding what is actually going on?
Yes. The major challenge is that no one knows what they're looking at because no one's ever done it before. So it's kind of like inventing electrocardiogram. Initially, even in my life, my career, I'm 71 years old. I've been in medicine since my late 20s. Back in my late 20s, now we're talking about the late 1970s, in hospitals, electrocardiograms were only performed by the doctor, and they had to be read by a cardiologist. Now, part of that was, unfortunately, money, but the other part of it was new, and there's some abstract, there's some variability in the waveforms. There's some motion artifact, which is a problem with the early electrocardiograms as well too, and so we've really worked hard over the last year and a half to straighten things out. Initially, when we launched the product at the Consumer Electronics Show in January 2023, it was based on about 800 erections. Our database now is 45,000 erections. So the tracings are more accurate, the interpretation of them is more accurate, and we now can provide people with notifications about what the traces mean as well, and that's going to be implemented in about 3 weeks.
Awesome. So when people use Bluetooth to get their tracings from this device onto their phone, what information are they getting from this technology?
Sure. What they're getting is how hard is their erection, how long it lasts, and a count of the number of erections they have, which is important for counting the number of nocturnal erections that are the leading indicator of man's cardiovascular health. And soon we're going to be adding an approximation of the blood flow into the penis by taking the area under the graph. That's coming in about 6 weeks. I haven't discussed that with you, Amy, but that's a data point is coming as well too. And what we're working on for next year is actually precisely measuring the girth of the penis using another sensor. And we're also adding a accelerometer. And the accelerometer is more for fun. It'll tell people what position they're having sex in. It'll estimate how many calories they're burning while they're having sex. It could be like a warning to me. Hey, Elliot, a monthly missionary position, it's kind of getting boring. Your wife might want to change your practice. So it's going to be, that's more, more for fun. But a lot of our customers, want that information.
Yeah. And I want to go back into a little bit of this sort of concept of wearable devices. Mm-hmm. So if someone wants to track their erectile fitness, and let's say they're currently taking a supplement, or let's say they're currently not taking a supplement, but they want to take, let's say a nitric oxide supplement, or they're going to start Cialis, how does the application help them determine the efficacy of a lifestyle or medication intervention?
Well, that's part of the profound value of this, because you and I as doctors don't treat high blood pressure, not a blood pressure cuff. We don't just put someone on a pill and tell them to come back in 3 months if they have high blood pressure. If someone has a cardiac arrhythmia, we don't say, "Oh yeah, your pulse feels irregular, and I understand you feel faint when you go running. Maybe you should run less and you take this pill called digoxin and come back in 3 months." I mean, that's where we are with a lot of the interventions proposed for erectile dysfunction. So we have men and healthcare providers with this device establishing a baseline. Then you get the intervention, and then you can actually start to titrate the intervention. Is the testosterone working? Is it making a man harder? Is he having more nocturnal erections? What's the right dosage? Same with PD-5 medications. Okay, we got the guy at 5. He says doesn't know any difference. Let's put him on 10. But is there really a difference? For myself personally, I've tested a lot of these things, and there's no difference between, for me, taking 10 or 20 over 5 of the tadalafil. But 5 of the tadalafil does make a difference in terms of, especially I can see it. Well, it improves my nocturnal erections by about 15% in hardness, and that's interesting and that's valuable. It means I'm getting more blood flow to my penis at night. So the device gives people a score of 1 to 10 on how hard their erections are, with anything above 6.5 to 7 being able to penetrate and 10 being rock hard. So men can actually again, as you're indicating, they can titrate and measure the impact. We have men considering, I've had 3 men contact me who are considering shockwave therapy for their ED, but they had they averaged between 3 and 7 nocturnal erections per night. These guys did not need shockwave therapy, and the device was able to save them tens of, thousands of dollars. And that's going to be one of the profound values of this device as a cost saver, as something that can give men and their healthcare providers like you data-driven, actionable data about what's going on with them.
Dr. Justin, you've termed the coin erectile fitness score. Can you define that for folks?
I can. We're all men and women on the road from fitness to dysfunction. We all would like to hit the brakes and ideally make a U-turn. And we can't do that without data. So I coined that phrase for 2 reasons. One, men's health is still described very negatively. In my lifetime, women don't get described as being hysteric, anorgasmic, or frigid anymore. Feminists, and it's for the best, they killed that. They killed the shame over women in the 70s and 80s addressing issues of sexual dysfunction that, frankly, for many people just are a result of aging or medications or other problems. So I want to talk about men's sexual health in a positive way. Let's talk about it as fitness, not dysfunction. So we have a computer algorithm that determines what fitness is. So anyone above a 7, 7.5 on a 1 to 10 scale is erectile fit. Now, we have not had a man yet who's a 10. Even young guys who are healthy are usually in the mid 9s. So the scores is based upon the number of nocturnal erections a man has and how long they last, and how hard a man gets during sex and how long he lasts during sex. And actually we're continuing on the basis of more as we get more data and working with our scientific advisory board, improving that algorithm. So all men, in my opinion, should know their score, just the way you know your blood pressure, you know your lipoproteins, you know electrocardiogram, especially for men over the age of 45 or 50, or younger men who have diabetes or hypertension or taking medications. They should know their score. This is an important data point for their health.
So you spoke a lot about getting that data, but talk to us a little bit about some of the other products in the FirmTech product portfolio. For example, the Max PR. Why would someone choose this over, let's say, the TechRing?
Sure. Well, the Max PR is our most popular item. It's a lot less expensive. But actually, I developed it because it occurred to me that many of the men that I was speaking to, their problem is not that they can't attain erection. I mean, someone can't attain erection, needs help. They need to see a doctor. But their problem is they have difficulty sustaining erection. And that's a critical question that their family doctors and their internists, or even the urologists aren't asking them when they go to them and say they have ED. Amy, I went to my local urologist here and said, okay, but I have ED. What would you do? So I just give you a pill. He never occurred to him to say, well, is it all the time? Is it some of the time? What are the circumstances? Is it this? Is it that? So when I realized, and it's simple, and this is your world, most men's problems that can't sustain erection, I want to help them sustain erection. And the most common reason why men can't sustain erection is performance anxiety and/or the side effect of medications and alcohol. So I want to come up with a ring that could be worn for more than 20, 30 minutes, that could be comfortable, and that would intensify a man's orgasm. Women have vibrators, men don't have a lot. So we experimented on 21 men, aged 28 to 70. I was the oldest man in the group.
Sign me up. That sounds like a fun study.
My thought was the way to make a man have more intense orgasm is to put the right amount of pressure over the urethra and to draw out the ejaculation. And my goal was that all these men had their ejaculatory phase increased by 50%, and the average ejaculatory phase was like 3 seconds to 6 seconds, depending on the age. Really was age correlated. We made the Max PR out of that material. Now you can achieve the same effect with a TechRing by tightening it, but we're Americans, we're lazy. We just put it on and get it done. We don't want to play with things, just put it on and get it done. So with the Max PR, my ejaculatory phase goes from 4 seconds to 7 seconds. For me, cock rings were novelty, and frankly, a non-successful, uncomfortable, silicone hard novelty that I would try once or twice a year and throw out. The Max PR, I don't have sex without it. My wife's idea of foreplay is to drop it on my computer. My ejaculatory phase goes from 4 seconds to 7 seconds. That's a more intense orgasm. So why would I have sex without it? The takeaway for men in time will be, soon I believe, put a ring on it for your pleasure and for your partner's pleasure. Have sex more confidently because you're going to stay hard and have a more intense orgasm. You want it. She wants it for you too.
I love that. That answers that age-old question, which is how do I have a more pleasurable orgasm? And what I love about these technologies is no one has to have a problem or a dysfunction to benefit. So often when men come to see us in clinic, it's like, what's your chief complaint? What's your diagnosis? But if someone comes in and they say, actually, I have great erections, I just want better erections, or I want to know my data, I want to know my erectile fitness score, or I have great orgasms, but I want better orgasms. Are you saying that's reason enough to try one of these devices or both?
Yeah, the devices are not, well, on the technology data side, you want to identify problems before they become apparent down there. And the ring can do that. I know I've showed you before, but we've had 2 men contact me. They got cardiac catheterizations. So forget about just the erection benefit. We've had 2 men tell me that they got cardiac catheterizations as a result of one having a very terrible baseline erectile fitness score, and the other one from noticing a rapid deterioration over I forget, it was 4 or 5 months. That guy had other signals in his life of cardiac problems, but seeing his data put it right there in front of his face. Men will pay a lot more attention to their penis than they will to, hey, am I a little more short of breath when I'm walking upstairs? So the data is really important. But for all men, to establish a baseline with data, or if you want to rock harder, longer, have more satisfaction, what guy doesn't want that? One of the common responses I get from male straight urologists is, when I talk about the ring, is, oh, I don't need that. Well, it's not about need, it's about want. And my retort to them is, do you want a more powerful orgasm? Do you want to last longer? Every guy wants that.
Dr. Justin, you mentioned that you have like 45,000 tracings. Can you talk a little bit about like the data being anonymous, what you're doing with those tracings, how you're using those tracings to understand and maybe improve your algorithms, and what you hope to learn from those tracings?
Yes, obviously men are very concerned about privacy in this area. And so there's only one person in the company who has access to the data, and that's is our chief technical officer. Everyone else has to give permission. Now he has what we call, in the United States we call a HIPAA contract. We could be thrown out of business if that's broken. We're on the Amazon Web Service Cloud for medical health technology, as are leading hospitals, leading institutions in the United States. It's about as secure as you can get. I intend in the future, though, to actually put everything on a private server, and that's part of our plan for the second or third quarter next year. So the people need to be sure that their data is safe. The data is when someone when we get someone's data and it goes to the cloud, there's an anonymous string of numbers that are attached to it that are identifiers. So now we can use the data for research purposes. So we have 4 papers that have been accepted for publication, another 3 or 4 that are IRB approved, and the virtual IRB approval, another 6 studies planned. The device is being used by researchers at the University of Utah, Baylor, Mount Sinai, Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York, for a variety of purposes. Doctors, leading academic researchers want to ascertain how this device can be used to improve the diagnosis and management of erectile dysfunction, how the device can be used before and after prostate surgery to improve care, how the device can be used to titrate the right dose of testosterone and determine who responds and who doesn't respond. So this device is going to transform the practice of urology and sexology. It's going to take them from care that is driven by research done by big pharma and by speculations and anecdotes,
and by questionnaires that are not relevant to most of our patients, or a lot of our patients. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and one thing, those questionnaires, and Amy's talking about the IEF and SHIM, they're penetration focused. I've had gay customers, I'm about to call them patients, but other customers laugh at the scores because they're not doing some of the practices. I mean, those questionnaires are focused on vaginal penetration. And I know from talking to my customers, I know you know from talking to your patients, that for most, I would say at the majority of successful relationships over the age of 45 or 50, penetration it's part of the journey to pleasure. It's not the end point of it for men or for women. So those questionnaires, they're subjective, and they don't talk about real life situations. Our device tells people what's going on in real life, whether you're masturbating, whether you're having penetrative sex or other practices. It gives people real world information.
Mm-hmm. So I loved hearing about kind of how this technology has changed, in some of your challenges. But what about the women out there, right? Can you talk to us a little bit about what you're doing on the female side when it comes to wearable technology?
Yes, we have a device we call the Platique that is in research and development. We did present a paper, actually you presented the paper at the International Society of Sexual Medicine convention in Dubai about that paper. And so we know that we can capture blood flow in the clitoris because it's the same thing in the clitoris as it is in the penis. And our thesis, women's nocturnal clitoral erection episodes or clitoral arousal episodes at night are going to be just as predictive of the cardiovascular health and medication side effects as they are with men. And premenopausal women will benefit because they take hormones for birth control, and they take SSRI antidepressants, unfortunately, I think, which have an impact on the libido and their sexual performance. So to have a device for women would be profoundly valuable. So where are we with that device? Well, we did demonstrate that we could get the data and put it onto an app. But the sensors that we use, I think we're working on different ones. So we want ones that are more sensitive and specific. And we are testing 2 of them really this quarter and into November. Our goal is, but really by the end of October, to demonstrate that the 2 new sensor arrays work. And right now, I'm funding the project myself. I hope to raise money, for that project, but I will deliver that project to the market regardless in time.
So in 10 years, Dr. Justin, what do you think between the Critique and the My FirmTech, the FirmTech portfolio, like what do you think is going to be going on? What kind of data are you going to be capturing in 10 years? What does that look like for you?
Sure. Well, first I want to say that I hope that these devices will inspire people to make love more. That's what, because the benefits
That's what's going to go viral.
the benefits are enormous.
Yeah.
But it's both, not just in terms of personal happiness, but in terms of successful relationships, decreased cortisol levels, living longer, decreasing your cardiovascular risk, taking medications appropriately. But I hope that the data will also inspire people to have healthier lifestyles. Avoid metabolic syndromes like diabetes by eating well. Don't be obese. If you get high blood pressure, take your medicines or reduce the risk factors. So I think the impact is not just going to be in urology, sexology. It's going to be in internal medicine, as well. The devices, though, I think we will be able to tell people in the future a lot more about the sexual function than just how the blood flow into the clitoris of the penis and how long they last. I'm confident, Amy, that we in 3 to 4 years, using miniaturized ultrasound that's currently being developed by Philips, we'll be able to give you, urologists, a dream device where you can actually get not just some office Doppler that does reproduce real life situations, but you actually get Dopplers at home while people are having sex or while they're sleeping. You'll be able to playing around with radar sensors, which we're going to do next year. We'll be able to actually look at calcifications and microvasculature on the penis and the clitoris. This is like having aside from the benefit, looking at blood flow into those two organs, this will be like getting a catheterization at home. Instead of getting a CT angiogram to look at the vessels in your heart as a screening test, or a retinogram to look at vascular changes associated with hypertension, diabetes, you'll be able to do this while you're having sex. That's really great and fun. I also think that people will start to gamify this. I know they will. We already have gay guys who are doing it. People want to. I mean, what do you want to know more on your dating site? How much money the guy makes, or how well he can perform? Now overall, I think that's for the best. Although obviously it could be exclusive, but hopefully it will inspire people to stay in health, stay fit. Put a ring on it. Put a ring on it for your health. Get the data that's vital to maintaining your sexual health. It also reflects your cardiovascular health. And put a ring on it to enhance your pleasure and for your partner's pleasure.
Awesome. And then I'll just conclude by saying that in my urology practice, I have a practice in Coral Gables, Florida, and I routinely talk to my patients who are coming in really with any sort of like men's health concern, or even if they're coming in and they're just coming in for like what I would call a well man's visit to just understand their bodies. If they're interested in data, which a lot of people certainly are, I do recommend they use devices like this. And it's the only commercially available product on the market that provides easily accessible, cost-effective information in the comfort of someone's home, right? I mean, there are no other competitor products. This is the product that I recommend. And for, in terms of erection rings, I like this product a lot. And I echo a lot of what Dr. Justin has said. For my patients who come in, I have a lot of guys that don't necessarily come in with premature ejaculation. They come in with delayed ejaculation. Their orgasms are more blunted as they get older. And we don't have really many medications or therapies to help those guys. And so I do recommend, because of what you had mentioned with your experience, both with yourself and with, some of your customers, that they try out a constriction band like this, right? The Max PR, to see if it can, intensify their orgasms. And I've had patients say, I always ask my patients when they come in for follow-up, did you try this product? And if they did, what did you think about it? Not just did it help, if they say it helped, in what ways do you feel like it helped? Because just like Dr. Justin is learning about his technology, I'm learning about the patient experience with the technology. And so I want to be able to share with the next person, hey, I spoke to 2 patients recently, and this is what they said, which is just as valuable as any research study, is the true patient experience.
I just spoke earlier today with a 74-year-old guy. His wife is in her 50s. And his complaint was that he gets hard but doesn't feel doesn't feel pleasure, and it takes him a long time to come. It took me, Amy, this is your experience too, 5 emails back and forth to persuade him, just try the Max PR. If it doesn't work out, we'll give you money back. And he contacted me today. Had a great orgasm. Came in 12 minutes. His wife's really happy.
What about the prostate cancer patients? Can you give me an example of someone, that you've spoken to post prostate cancer treatment who benefits from the ring?
I have a couple people come to mind immediately. The recovery from prostate surgery is long and hard, and a lot of men quit because nothing's happening. They stop doing the exercises. They don't take the pills. They stop pumping. So two customers come immediately to mind. One was a guy who was 11, 12 months out and wasn't doing anything. His wife was unhappy. He's unhappy. Emailed me and said, I doubt you can help me, but is there anything you can do? And I said, look, let's just find out what's going on at night. Try the TechRing. And if you have no erections, just send it back to me. He tried the TechRing and he wore it for 7 or 8 days at night. 7 days, 7 nights had no erections, and then one night had a 10 and a 6. And resumed his therapy. And a couple weeks later, he and his wife are having sex with just the Max PR alone. No pumping, no pills. And I love hearing those stories, because when I went into this business, I wasn't thinking about prostate disease. I'm not a urologist like you. I was thinking about erectile dysfunction. And contacted yesterday by a guy, status post prostate surgery, out over a year, dependent in his mind upon Trimix injections to get an erection. Doesn't like him. They give him a headache. The erection feels weird to him. I don't have any personal experience with it. And suggest to him that he could probably, if he uses the Max PR, he could probably cut back on the dose. And he contacted me yesterday and says he doesn't even need it anymore. He gets hard. His confidence has been restored that he can have an erection without the injection. And yes, he gets an erection, he loses it, but with the ring on, he doesn't lose the erection. He's happy. His wife is happy. Those are just two anecdotes that come to mind right away.
Saving marriages, saving lives.
One erection at a time.